Hey girl, hey.
Hey mama.
Hey,
Hey lady.
You are tuned in to the Scenes from a Single Mom podcast. We don't grow alone, and this podcast ensures that you don't have to. Grab your journal and a drink and join us. Welcome back for this week's episode of the Scenes from a Single Mom podcast. I am your co-host, Tiffany Huff Struthers, and I can't wait to introduce you to this week's co-host. She is the amazing Kecia Chantel. If you've been listening for a while, you already know that I believe we do the best at introducing ourselves. Kecia, welcome to the show, and please let everybody know who you are beyond the bio.
All right. Hello. My name is Kecia Chantel. I am 32 years old. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am a two-time graduate from Duquesne University. I hold a bachelor's in health sciences and a master's of science in occupational therapy.
All right.
But all in all, I'm just a girl from the hood, just round away. My most important role is that of a mother. I have two little boys. Gregory is 5 and Princeton Reese is 1.
Wow.
And in my spare time, I love thrift shopping.
You got your hands full there.
Yeah, I do.
Cuteness overload, though. Cuteness overload.
They ain't that cute, but
they're real cute, especially because I can give them back.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
So Kecia also is an author in Scenes from a Single Mom, Volume 4, which will be out in these streets, available for your purchase in early August.
I'm excited.
Her story is called This Is My Time. So let's talk about why your title is This Is My Time.
Well, thank you for helping me come to that title. But I do feel like it's very appropriate. The resounding theme overall was just coming to a point of realizing that I was living for other people. I was living for whatever like society placed upon me. And in doing that, I wasn't really being true to myself. And it caused me a lot of, heartache and pain and different, experiences. And so I've gotten to a point where I realized like I can't keep doing this and really had to start to dig deep and find out, who is Kecia Chantel, what really serves me and what is my purpose. So now just being in the season, it's just appropriate. Like this is my time.
So we obviously don't want to give away all of the tea of the story. However, for the mom who is listening, I am interested, and I'm sure she would love to hear what shifted or what triggered you to have the realization that you had to make a shift because you had been living for everyone else for so long.
So I think that this generation, especially with social media, it's a gift and a curse. So when we go on Facebook and Instagram, we're able to give our representatives and we're looking at people who are giving their representatives.
Right.
But sometimes if you are in a space where you're lost, when you're looking at other people, you don't have that tunnel vision. So you start to compare yourselves to other people and you start to kind of embody something that you truly aren't or think that you're behind when you really aren't. And so like for me, especially in this whole era, I felt like, okay, I went to school, check. Okay, now that I'm working and I travel, I need to have kids. Mm-hmm. I need to get married.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I needed to do all of these things to define me as a woman and as a person.
And as a successful woman.
Exactly. And all of that, you have to realize that all of that is subjective.
Yes.
And if you really go deeper, it's a lot of things that people that aren't even from our race placed upon us, but that's a different story for today. And so the person, for somebody who's reading this, especially for the young woman who thinks that, as women, a lot of us have these fantasies by 30. I'm going to be married. I'm going to have this house with the picket fence. I'm going to have it all together. And at 30, I was a hot mess and was cleaning up a lot of the mess that I, placed upon myself because I wanted to have all of these things in order.
Right.
So, hopefully someone that's reading this story could realize that, you're enough, you in itself. And
you are enough, period.
And, having kids is beautiful. Take your time and don't rush it, and let that come to you versus to try to think that you have to hit these markers in order to be the bomb. Like, you're the bomb by yourself.
Yes.
So
what kind of steps did you take, or really what are some of the work that you had to do to undo the thought processes and the behaviors that were getting you into a place where at 30 you were a hot mess? Like, how did you break the hot mess cycle?
Listen, the hot mess broke me.
Woo, say it again.
It broke me. And it's so funny because when you're in it, it feels bad, right? And then when you come to the other side of it, you realize that that's what you needed in order to grow and to get to be where you are today, right?
Right.
So last year, I felt like I hit a low. Like, things were bad. I perceived them as bad. And I just realized that when I looked at my lifespan the past 10 years, it was always this cycle of it was always a cycle of getting in a relationship and kind of settling with a person who I wasn't really equally yoked with, right? And then breaking up and then coming on an upswing and, doing some boss moves and some stuff by myself, and then getting right back into a situation where I'm settling, I'm in a relationship. So I'm like, this is a cycle.
Right.
Like, I just keep getting in these 3 and 4 year little toxic little relationships, and in between that transition where it's just me and I'm really just
killing a game.
Yeah, so I just was like, I can't keep doing this. And now that I'm a mom of 2 boys, I have to really be intentional because they're looking at me. I'm setting the tone for how they may treat a woman, how they perceive relationships, or, having a codependency, because that's what I had essentially. I felt like I had to be attached to someone in order to, be me. So yeah, the cycle broke me. I'm like, I can't keep doing this. This isn't fun. It's costing me money.
Right.
So now when it's hitting my pockets up, I'm like, I'm not doing this. So.
And I think the other thing, I know you touched on it, but I think it's really important to also note the amount of work and energy and the thought that goes into making the peaks and the valleys look good on social media, right? Like, that's a whole other level of it. And it's mental.
It is. It's deep. Because, like, there's one instance where we meet or we give our representatives on social media and we come off this way, to other people. But for me, on the flip side, I had to be on social media because of my business. Shout out to Zori Beats. Mm-hmm. So, and I brought you something too. So I was on social media and I'm like, hey cousins, how are you? Things,
just happy as can be.
And people didn't realize that I was like in a very dark space, like mentally, physically, emotionally, but I was able to code switch and be, in my valley, but look like I'm in my peak, or to carry on as if I'm, a certain way. So yeah, it takes a lot.
So why is it, and you may not have an answer for this, I think we've all had this experience, but why is it that you think you or we collectively don't just show up as we are?
For me, I would say embarrassment. We're embarrassed by our situation. And what I'm learning is that we actually share a lot of things in common with other people. But I think that we're scared to be in a vulnerable space because it's like, maybe this person isn't going to like me. Maybe this person isn't going to accept me. Maybe this person is going to judge me and look at me different. But it's like, if you look at me different because of my personal situation, you have every right to, but peace and blessings.
Right.
Well,
Right.
And so I think for me, it was more so the embarrassment because, like I said in my story, I come off as somebody who has it all together.
Right. Absolutely.
When you look at me, I have, my career, I have my business, 2 kids, I'm very pulled together.
Right.
On the outside, and so just that embarrassment, for me to realize, like, well, you go through some stuff too. you got some stuff you need to unpackage. Like, sis, you a mess. You know, you a mess.
So you kept it together in the midst of the national pandemic, if you will. You were suffering from your own personal pandemics, but you kept it under wraps.
Yeah.
And now that the book is coming out, everybody's going to know that you were a hot mess, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get to a place, or what happened that you decided it was time to share your truth?
I feel like this is my act of obedience. When God says to move, you need to move.
Period.
Because the stuff that we're going through, it's bigger than you.
Right.
You know, and so for one, I thank you, Tiff. Thank you, Tiff. But I thank you, Tiff, for, you know, creating this platform and a safe space for women to be able to share their stories, because there's so many people who are experiencing this and they're just
suffering in silence.
You know? So one, you know, I felt like it was time to share my story, because it's not about me. And if I could help somebody get through a situation or prevent somebody from going into a cycle that I was in, then I feel like it's a job well done. And for two, once again, going back to the embarrassment. When people know something about you and you're embarrassed to talk about it, they use that as a weapon against you. They know that if I say this, I'm going to get this reaction, right?
Yes.
So now being in a space like, this is my story. Yeah, this is it. It's not gossip. It's not whispered anymore.
Right.
So, you know, reclaiming my power back.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to walk in shame or be embarrassed. But now that I put it out there, what you going to say now?
Right.
You can't say, I heard this. It's a story. I put it out there.
Right.
So now what?
That's right.
You know, so really just one, coming out of that shame and embarrassment. And two, just being able to help a greater cause, you know, because, you know, we need it. And sometimes just saying one thing can open up, you know, a whole new world. So.
And I think you're right. What makes the difference a lot of times is knowing that it's a safe space to grow through that process, right? If you can get into a space that's safe to be able to build your confidence and support you through the journey, then you're more likely to do it. So what would you say to someone who is in a place where she's showing up with her representative, but she knows God is saying, like, it's time?
I do think that, you know, nothing is of happenstance, right? And then two, God positions and places different people in your life for certain reasons. So take, for instance, you a cousin, right? You shop with Zorby.
Right.
I've been around you for years in different capacities, especially when it comes down to, you know, just like the beads and stuff like that. However, being able to constantly interact with you on my business platform,
right,
it exposed me to what you were doing. And then having a close friend who was also involved with the project, it was just little things I kept getting deposited into me. And so just being around, you know, God will place certain people around you and you'll start to feel convicted, you know, and then you'll have people like you who will say, you know, just random general statements like, you know, you can't conquer what you don't confront. And I'm like, at me next time, you know? So it's kind of like, sometimes it'd be like an altar call, you know, you'll be around certain people and they'll say things or they'll share things. And after a while, it's just, once again, God will just keep pouring into you to move.
Right.
And if you don't, you're just still going to walk around with that heaviness.
That heaviness, so, yeah. I always say sometimes he has to drop kick you. Man. You be on the ledge. He like, take the leap.
Man, he done DDT me, you know.
It's so much easier when you just take the nudge and move with it, like you said.
But I'm definitely thankful for being around certain people in the space that I was in, because it really helped me, like, helped to pull me through. So, yeah.
So what does Kecia Chantel do in the tough moments when, you know, that hot mess starts to try and creep back in, or those thoughts, or you get discouraged? Yeah.
So I'm a little weird. So everybody has their own coping mechanism. You know, some people eat, some people will just like lay down or, you know, just become detached. The type A Capricorn in me, I worked. So whenever I was going through my personal crises, I poured myself into work. So I had to constantly feel like I was busy and being distracted. So what did I do? I always just started beating my tail off. And so beading became very therapeutic for me.
Okay.
And it was something that a lot of my customers, they benefited from because they're like, she's a machine. And so now that I'm on the other side, I'm in a space where I realized that that was what I needed to get me through that tough moment. But I can't operate in that realm because now
You'll burn yourself out.
You'll burn yourself out.
But is it still therapeutic for you?
It's very therapeutic for me, especially because I work in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hi, I'm Kecia. How are you? Couldn't be better.
Right.
My son would say. So being able to express myself creatively, it's very therapeutic, and it's a blessing to be a blessing. Yes. And even with my beads, I'm very intentional. With my charms, I'm very intentional. So people will come to me and say, when I'm feeling down, I'll wear this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very intentional about my charms too. When I pick my Zori beads, it's like, I said, but what does the charm say?
Right.
Because that could be a deal breaker.
Exactly. Matter of fact, so I brought you two things because I can't come empty-handed. So the first thing that I brought you is a charm that says, girl, forgive. And it goes with your dress.
It does.
And then the second one, I just brought a random bracelet because I know we're big into the whole mixing and matching.
Yes.
So that'll actually look really pretty.
Oh, thank you. I feel so special.
So yeah, that was something that I did in that space. Was I really, I worked and I tried to pour into others, and yes. I wanted to be poured into, and it helped me.
Yes.
But now that things are more settled for me, I'm realizing that I need to do different things whenever I'm having those moments. But I like to work out. So that's like my outlet. Like I'm going to run, I'm going to move. I always have to move whenever I'm, experiencing something. So
speaking of moving, if you were creating a soundtrack for your story, what's one or two, if you would like to share, song that would be on your soundtrack?
I would say Mary J. Blige, No More Drama.
No More Drama.
Listen, when I feel like
that can be on the soundtrack for every story.
I'll be like, I feel it.
You start dancing like Mary?
Yeah, it's like, because it's like you just get to this space where
enough.
I'm done. Like,
yes, enough.
I don't even want to surround myself around anything or anybody that doesn't serve me in this season that I'm in, especially. When you're around things that are triggering, I don't want to argue. I don't want to have quick little zingers and clapbacks for people. I don't want any of that that drama or what comes with it. It's not fun. I don't like it.
It's not productive.
I start stuttering. It's like I don't want that. So definitely just No More Drama by Mary J. Blige. And then my second song would be Praise 'Em in Advance by Marvin Sapp. Yeah, just praise them in advance because it's like whatever happens, and being in that season of I'm content.
Right.
So I'm going to just praise God regardless. It's not just because it's not a give or take thing. So whenever he does something and bestows something upon me, I'm like, thank you. Like, thank you for whatever it is. Thank you for waking me up.
Yes.
I'm just going to praise you because I already know my story is written.
Yes.
So,
and it's very powerful.
Thank you.
Very powerful.
So my kids, they love that. You should hear my 5-year-old. He sings it. That praise
him in advance. Yeah, I can only imagine.
He feels it. But yeah, I love that story because it's like, regardless, I just got to thank God for pulling me through and for keeping me and moving me even when my legs couldn't move. So
yes. So how can the listeners connect with you and continue to follow your journey, support Zori Beads, all of those things?
So I can be found on all social media platforms at ZoriBeads.com. On Instagram, I'm Zori Beads. On Facebook, I'm Zori Beads. I don't even want to tell you to join my VIP group because my cousins are particular and they don't want too many new people in there.
No comment. No comment.
But yeah, I love to be able to connect with people and to just get different perspectives. So I'm always, open to it. So I'm just thankful for this space. And I think that I would love to revisit the conversation after the book comes out.
Yes, we definitely will. Collectively, what we'll do is the way the scenes are broken down in the book, we'll do a group discussion based on who's in your scene with you.
Okay. And my scene is?
Wealth.
Okay.
Yes.
And that isn't money.
No.
I'm broke.
You are not broke. You are not broke. So very wealthy.
Uncle Sam is, okay. But it's really, wealth is really just, I'm learning that it's, your physical, your mental, your spiritual, because you can have those material things, but if your mind ain't right.
Right. If you're not healthy,
breaks down, or you'll start to carry them demons with you, And the biggest thing too, I don't think I said it, but therapy. That's what really has helped me in a space, and that really helped me to break that cycle that I was in. Breaking, because it's still an ongoing thing. So I know that's something that's taboo in our community, but listen, I love my therapist. And I'll be in therapy for the rest of my life because I want to continue to challenge myself to be the best version of me. So I definitely wanted to say that therapy really helps. So.
Well, I definitely will have to agree that this is your time.
I'll take it.
And if therapy is what's helping, then don't stop. And if being is what's helping, don't stop. Yeah. Yes, because this is certainly your time. You got the glow.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to see what God has for you and for the little guys.
I received that.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll see you. Well, everyone will get to literally see you at the launch on August 8th.
I'm very excited.
Yes.
This is my time.
This is your time. And this is your time too. Remember, we don't grow alone, and this podcast ensures you don't have to. We will see you next week. Peace. Thank you again for tuning in to this week's episode of the Scenes from a Single Mom podcast. If you were blessed by this episode, please take a moment or two and leave us a review, because when you do, you create an opportunity for another mom to find us and get the tips, tools, and tea that we share here as you grow through on your motherhood journey. And if you're not already, be sure to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow us at When She Thrives so that you are aware of all the greatness that is going on with When She Thrives out here in these streets. And last but certainly not least, grab your copies of Scenes from a Single Mom, volumes 1 and 2, and of course 3 and 4 are coming soon. Thank you again for listening, and we will chat with you next week.